Hello and welcome to ThePrint. Today we have with us a very special guest, a senior political scientist based in London, Ayesha Siddiqa. Thank you so much for joining us today. Just to introduce our audience, she's a senior fellow at the Department of War Studies in King's College London, and she's going to discuss with us a little bit about Pakistan's domestic politics, a little bit about its foreign policy, which of course we in India are very, very interested in. So let's start with the economic crisis. The IMF bailout package is being prepared. Some assurances are needed. Once the bailout package happens, we've seen this many times, where does Pakistan go to avoid coming to the IMF's door once again?
Well, it will have to go for another program. It's not that this is end of the road as far as IMF is concerned. The problem is that IMF is constantly kind of raising the bar, which is making people think about where does it want to get Pakistan. Because there have been increase in taxes, they're talking about increasing surcharge on electricity, removing all subsidies, and extensively things are being done. The same way that IMF has treated in the past Venezuela, other countries in dire straits, but also in dire need for reforms. So this is a moment where Pakistan is getting edgy. I mean, this morning I saw that the Prime Minister has asked Saudi friends, to help to kind of meet that gap.
China has also agreed to about 1.3 billion
to
more.
roll over. But these are, this is small help here and there. Pakistan needs ready cash at the moment, and it also needs reforms. And even if it carries out reforms, the problem is that it's still, that is something which will have an effect in the next 4 to 5 years. So the question is, will IMF be ready? Will be happy with that? And still doesn't answer the question that what Pakistan does with its immediate needs. So very tricky times.
What do you think about Finance Minister Ayesha Siddiqa? How do you think he's handled this so far, the IMF negotiations? What's your view on that?
He's come under a lot of criticism, and there are two camps now. There is the Miftah Ismail camp, and then there is the Ishaq Dar camp. I mean, he was initially very gung-ho when he came, and he said, I probably don't need the IMF, and probably was very excited about, very blasé about his ability to go and get money from China, from Saudi Arabia, UAE. But nobody's paid. I mean, a lot depends on this IMF negotiation. He miscalculated perhaps his ability. So he's coming under a lot of criticism because of that. Will Miftah now be able to do anything better or different? It's a matter of negotiating with the IMF and making sure that reforms that are agreed upon, Pakistan stays the course.
And at least a long-term strategy is in place, not to just assure the IMF, but also the Pakistani people.
Yeah, I mean, there is this opinion that removing Miftah was a bad idea. But now, either he resigns, but what Pakistan definitely needs is an economist, greater stability, and the question is Mr. Dar the right choice? And there is a big question mark.
So let's talk about Imran Khan's popularity. We cannot ignore that. We've just seen recently his speeches have been banned on broadcasting channels for the third time. His popularity seems to have skyrocketed after the assassination attempt last year. How do you see PTI and Imran Khan faring in the upcoming general elections?
This gagging his voice is what I call part of, pre-poll rigging. Yeah, so you basically prepare influence people's opinion and let not the voice carry. And now, honestly, it's not the voice that one felt should have been there in the first place. But I think stopping him will make the situation murky, unpleasant. He is popular. He's unpopular. Sorry, he's popular not because people, all of the lot admire him. It's because they're wary of the traditional parties. They think that PDM is responsible for the economic downturn and economic crises. So there is a lot of political instability. So what PDM is trying to do, or the army through PDM, is basically stop his narrative from spreading. So perhaps the popularity that he has at the moment could be kind of checked. That seems
to be feeding into his popularity a little bit more.
Let's see, because if the voice doesn't reach out, then 24/7, then it may have some effect. Okay. It's likely to, but it's because it'll be that imbalance that on the one hand, PMLN and PPP, Pakistan People's Party and Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz, will have space, bigger space, and PTI leader is not allowed to talk openly, and his voice is gagged. So it may have
an electoral effect.
Yeah.
Okay. So I also wanted to speak to you about Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's comments. He's made a lot of he's seemingly made a lot of outreach to PM Modi for talks between India and Pakistan. Last year, in an interview, he said that he's open to talks, he's ready to come to the table with Modi. And then when we saw during the Kashmir Day as well, he expressed solidarity with Kashmiris, which is interpreted as a sort of 180 move. So do you think that Shehbaz Sharif is sincere in that he wants talks with PM Modi?
Why would you think that he's not sincere? Because, look, is Kashmir resolved today? It's not. So until it is resolved, why would any government or any politician give up their option? And what they're doing, what Islamabad is doing, is basically it's diplomatic. So here is a situation that the government in Delhi is not ready to open up and have a conversation. So if you have a conversation, then probably you would get down to resolving the issue, and that's when they'll go silent about it. Right now, there is no reason for them to completely surrender all their options. What they're continuing to do is, ceasefire, agreement, ceasefire across the line of control is still holding. If you look at the South Asia terrorism portal data, the number of killing, the number of violence, all of that is continuing to reduce. So that that agreement is holding out. Which is, I think, at this point in time, is more important. I don't think that anyone in Pakistan is keen to have war with India. I mean, definitely, increasingly, the voice which is coming from Islamabad, coming from all over Pakistan, is let's reach out, let's have relations, let's have talks. But the problem is, right now, Delhi is not interested, and I believe that until after 2024, any movement that will happen is going to be after 2024. Now, the problem is that, okay, the expectation is Delhi is, they're in trouble, economic trouble, why don't they ask? if they need food items, if they want, food on their
They
table.
want to resume. They
Right.
wanted to resume food imports last year, and that was in fact floated as an idea, and it didn't come to fruition.
Yes, yes. I mean, it's also, Pakistan also has its political problems, and that's where it got caught in the middle of General Bajwa, Imran Khan politics, I would say. But, there are now increasingly more people talking about it. Now, the only thing is, how do you go around that mend? It's politically, Imran Khan is still out there. I remember talking to one Indian diplomat in London. This is last year. I said, are you guys ready to talk? And he retorted.
A serving diplomat or a former diplomat?
A serving diplomat. So I said, are you ready to talk? And he said, are you guys ready to talk? I said, yeah, we're ready to talk. He said, where is the indication? I said, what do you mean? He said, Imran Khan is still out there. And immediately, there is always this risk of somebody increasing the political cost for Pakistan, for having a negotiation with, or trying to suggest that, let's talk. So when political cost goes up, of course, then it makes, it'll be back to the same case where Imran Khan government allowed for import and then immediately reversed its order. So, and I understood what was being said, that there is that black hole of domestic politics where, despite wanting to have relations, every political government and every politician fears getting sucked into that. That you go and fight elections and say there's Imran Khan says, look, they have sold out and, they have gone on their knees, things like that. And that's when the whole relationship will begin to go south.
So to sort of build on your point, do you think the Pakistan foreign minister, does he want to avoid that domestic black hole, or do you think he'll actually show up for the SCO foreign ministers meeting in Delhi, which will be held in a few months?
I would prefer that. I'm sure somebody is going to. I hope somebody comes to represent Pakistan here. Possibly a person with greater experience of talking to Indians is the Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Hina Rabani Khar. And, also after the comments in New York, it may not be a pleasant affair. So if Hina Rabani Khar comes and represents Pakistan, that would be a great idea.
That was a very pivotal moment when he called Modi the butcher of Gujarat. So I don't think that's something the Indian establishment is also going to forget.
Well, I would imagine that India, with its rich tradition of diplomacy, would think carefully. I mean, if, for example, for tomorrow, Bilawal Bhutto becomes the Prime Minister of Pakistan, India will still have to talk. And countries look at their long-term interests. And even if Bilawal Bhutto made comments which shouldn't have been made or not pleasant, if something is to be gained and, a forward movement is anticipated, then I'm sure Delhi would know, to move on and not sit with, this is something which perhaps the North Korean leader might want to know, would do that. No, this is something, this is personally insulting and I'm not going to move away from it. Yours is a yours is a rich democracy and it should be able to kind of look at long-term interests and what is more beneficial.
So let's talk about another one of Pakistan's neighbors, Afghanistan. And what seems to be quite interesting in the relationship between the two countries of late is the TTP,
Right.
which is proving to be a security challenge for Pakistan. And, we've seen peace talks or peace efforts sort of been scuttled now. How do you see Shehbaz Sharif's government handling this TTP security challenge, and also do you think it could have an effect on the party's electoral aspirations?
Well, see, Afghanistan and TTP, Pakistan right now is doing what it can possibly do, which is talk. You can't open up front. I mean, Afghan Taliban are not ready to kind of take the plunge for Pakistan and kind of control the TTP. Surprisingly, Haqqani network, which is friendlier to Pakistan, that's the area where southeast, where TTP is based at the moment. They're under Haqqani control. So there is something which needs to be fixed in that relationship. Now, in that, what they're trying to avoid is increase further costs to Pakistan. Violence. If violence goes up, then the cost is huge.
And they're still fencing the border.
It's fenced. They're not.
Yeah.
The border is fenced. It's not that there is a new project going on. It's there.
But amid all of these skirmishes.
No, it's not. Then there's no new fencing. It's like probably repairs here and there, but there's no new fencing happening. It's also been a fact that despite the fencing, I mean, it's such a huge border that you can't fence every inch, and secondly, even if you fenced it, it doesn't mean that you can't guard every inch that to ensure that people don't come. And Taliban have gone back and forth. It is a problem which adds to the current financial problem that Pakistan faces. I think continued talks, it's not just the PDM, but also the security establishment, which is on board, and they are together negotiating. It's not working, which is also a reality. It's a really a tough one for Pakistan.
And also, when it comes to Russia, we've recently seen Russia sign a memorandum with with Afghanistan, specifically for its thermal coal sector. And some experts are interpreting this as sort of a dig to Pakistan, given all its support to Ukraine. What do you make of this?
More than a dig to Pakistan, it's more Russian pushback to the United States, more than Pakistan, because this is a territory. Firstly, the landscape, the security landscape of Afghanistan is very complex. So that even Taliban, Afghan Taliban, not just one group. There's so many of them. You don't know what the divisions are. Right now, everybody is there. Now, what United States wants to do is perhaps have some presence. And what Russia probably realizes is that the United States might want to have presence in the region, either through Pakistan or, somewhere, somehow. And I believe it's more than a dig at Pakistan, because it understands, it realizes that Pakistan is really caught between its desire to have relations with Russia and China and its needs. IMF etc. And yeah, propensity. I mean, General Bajwa, I would argue, has played a fundamental role in kind of taking Pakistan a bit closer to the West than it was earlier. So, in that situation, I'm sure Russia understands that it's not that it wants to punish Pakistan, for kind of
for providing military aid to Ukraine, and then
assistance to Ukraine. I think I would see it in the larger context of its policy towards the United States. Because it's also on our side, our experts argue that what United States wants, this chaos in Afghanistan, is actually that because United States sits wherever it is geographically, but this is a region which then will have an impact on Central Asia, on Russia,
on India.
Countries.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, India would be a later thought, but definitely still, Central Asia and India is honestly secondary. Again, geographically, countries which are bordering on Afghanistan get more affected. So it's Pakistan, it's Central Asia. Central Asia, if you look at Central Asia, it's all those countries which where Russia has interest and influence. So you keep them disturbed. So this is an argument as well.
But I would say even in New Delhi, there are reservations about Afghanistan becoming a terror hub of the region. And we've seen that also in our home ministry not issuing a lot of e-visas to Afghans as well. But I do understand what you mean in the larger picture, perhaps. India's further away.
Well, perhaps that's the e-visas are not being issued because maybe the policy is
there are some security concerns for sure.
Well, the visas that were being asked for were not for the Taliban. It was for Afghans who wanted to study and different kind of Afghans. I mean, so visas, I mean, recently there was, MEA said, I think 2,500 visas. Sorry, 2,500 scholarships, for example, have been given. But there's no explanation on visas.
Of the emergency visa, yes.
So,
right.
The thing is that I don't think that right now where situation lies, yes, I mean, there is ISKP, which is also there. ISKP is an organization which is of great concern to United States, leave alone India. So, yes, Afghanistan is a critical territory to look at for anyone who's concerned about terrorism. But then, India also has direct relations now and conversation with Afghanistan, with the Taliban government. So I'm sure that can be sorted out. But
we've got no diplomatic presence there, but yes, there are conversations.
A lot of countries are in conversation without announcing that they have diplomatic relations. So
it's a tricky moment.
No, it's not a tricky moment. It's what countries do. I mean, for the longest, Pakistan didn't want India to be in conversation with Taliban. Now, Taliban and Indians are in direct conversation. They are asking for help, and Indian government is responding. This is a very kind of tactical stroke strategic game being played. All countries would do it, and there are other countries, I mean, Saudi Arabia, for example, or the OIC, and none of these countries have established diplomatic relations because they've not recognized the Taliban regime. Like Russia, if it's going to come and set up a project in Afghanistan, it still hasn't recognized. But nobody is pretending that Afghanistan does not exist. You have to have a conversation with it.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time out. I know you're really pressed for time, but I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. We hope to catch you again when you're in Delhi next.
Thank you.
Thank you.